If we could kindly have everyone take their seats so we could begin our program so we can stay right on time, as we always do, I'd appreciate it. Thank you so much. So please take your seats and we'll have time for more chatting as well as we proceed with the program. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing? My name is Mark Rosen from WCCO Television, and it is my pleasure to once again welcome you to the Domestic Abuse Project's 14th annual Transforming Families Luncheon. I started by standing up here because I just had knee replacement surgery a little while ago, and otherwise it would have taken me a half hour to get up here. So I'm here, I'm glad to be here, and glad to be back as well. We have, again, many stories to share with you today, and we want to honor our commitment to end promptly at 1 o'clock. So go ahead and enjoy your meal. I don't mind if you eat while I talk. I always eat when I talk. Works out pretty well if I'm sitting on the set during commercial breaks, so go right ahead as well. 3 years ago, I didn't know much about the Domestic Abuse Project, I'll be honest with you. After I was asked to emcee my first DAP luncheon, I was just absolutely overwhelmed by the stories I heard. I learned that abuse is behavior that children pick up in violent households and then usually repeat or suffer from later in life. I came to understand that this learned abuse causes cycles of violence for generations of families. I also learned that 1 in 3 women will be a victim of domestic violence in their lifetime, which is a staggering statistic. Each year I've listened to story after story of trauma, manipulation, and emotional damage. This, of course, is not an easy topic, even for over a lunch hour like we're enjoying today. So why do I keep coming back to MC year after year? Because each year I also hear story after story of hope. I hear how Barbara, a DAP advocate, helped a woman escape abuse by providing a housing referral, food and clothing, and help creating a safety plan. I hear how Leah helped a child understand that the abuse he saw between his mom and his dad is not his fault. I've heard how Brian, who has caused so much harm to his partner, takes responsibility for this harm and learns how to use self-control instead of abuse when he is angry, jealous, or stressed. These stories are indeed inspiring, and thankfully for clients coming to Domestic Abuse Project, they are the norm right now. 96% of women who receive help from DAP advocates develop a plan to keep them safe from their abuser. They are able to plan for where they can go or where they can confide in for protection. And 90% of men who complete the men's program do not hurt their partner again. Yeah, that deserves applause. The violence simply ended because DAP was able to intervene. Where else can we see so much success and that kind of success rate? Each year I learn more and more about what DAP does, but one thing always remains the same. Domestic Abuse Project provides hope. It provides concrete change. DAP ends domestic violence. I want to thank you for sharing an hour of your time to listen to these stories of trauma and abuse, but also to listen to these stories of hope. I'm going to go off script for just a second here because I think it's really important. I saw something, I didn't catch it when it was on the air, but being in the business that I'm in sports broadcasting, and certainly more than the fair share of domestic violence in the sports world, in particular football. And I thought it was quite telling and quite amazing that on national television on Sunday, Terry Bradshaw, who's been the well-known Fox analyst for many, many years, flat out, this is in the light of Greg Hardy returning to play football for the Dallas Cowboys after his 4-game suspension for domestic violence, signed by the Dallas Cowboys. came out and said, quote, "Anybody, in my opinion, that lays a hand on a woman, I don't care who you are, my friend, you never come back in this league." End of statement. And I thought, coming from Terry Bradshaw, projecting to a mostly male audience who really care about the results of their football team and who's playing and who's their fantasy football player and everything else, he took time on national television to take a step back and make a statement like that, and directing it right at the Dallas Cowboys ownership in particular, not Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy is Greg Hardy, but the Dallas Cowboys ownership for rewarding him because he can play football. So I thought that was pretty amazing. Now, before we continue, I wanted to be sure to thank the sponsors of the Transforming Families Luncheon. This year, Wells Fargo is our prime level sponsor, and we are grateful for their generous support. You can also find a list of all our sponsors in your program. It is because of our sponsors that we can cover the cost of today's event. So please, if you're an employee or customer of one of these businesses, be sure to thank them for their contributions to ending domestic abuse. We'd also like to thank and also recognize our table sponsors who are listed in our program as well, so take a look at those. These are individuals who supported the luncheon in an extra special way by covering the cost of an entire table, so we really thank you for that. And thank you so much, sponsors, for lending your support and inspiring all of us to work to end family violence. Thank you. There are 56 people in this room who are, to me, the embodiment of the true meaning of community. These people are the table captains, and they have filled this room with family, friends, and colleagues. Without them, this event would not be happening today. I want to extend my personal gratitude to each of you who are hosting a table today. So please stand. Thank you, table captains, for being here today. Woo! Don't be bashful. Each of you here today is a special guest, and believe me, we are truly honored by your presence. Now I'd like to take a moment to give recognition to the public figures that are with us today. Your support for families in crisis inspire all of us and should serve as an example to other community leaders. Please stand when you are called and stay standing. Everyone, please hold your applause until that list is read. Again, this year, we have incredible representation from the judges and referees from Minnesota's 4th Judicial District, led by table captains Judge Ann McCaig and Judge Gina Brandt. So please stand. They're here. Thank you. Council members John Quincy, Lisa Bender, Linnea Palmanzano join us from the Minneapolis City Council. Sorry for butchering your name. As does Nicole Archbold, the policy aide of the mayor's office as well. We also welcome several Hennepin County commissioners, Jan Callison, Marion Green, Linda Higgins, and Peter McLaughlin. State Representative Dennis Smith and State Senator Ann Rest join us as well, as does Sarah Sanchez on behalf of Representative Keith Ellison. We also welcome our partners in law enforcement and legal justice. I know a number of them and want to make sure my traffic tickets were all paid up. All clear. Thanks, Mr. Stanek. We're also joined by Mexican Consul Alberto Fierro Garza, Deputy Consul Julio Cesar Martinez, and their staff in charge of issues related to domestic abuse, Durley Santos. Last but not least, for the third year in a row, a full table of commissioners from the Minneapolis Commission of Civil Rights is in attendance here today as well, with their table captain, Marla Kahn Schwartz. So thank you all for your willingness to lend your support to DEP and to the issue of domestic abuse. Now, before we break officially for lunch, I want to call your attention to the 23 lives lost to domestic violence in Minnesota in 2014. 16 women, 5 family members or friends, and 2 men. These are only the cases that are confirmed as domestic violence. We know the numbers are larger than this, and sadly, the numbers for 2015 have already exceeded the totals for last year. We are at 24 lives lost, and this is October. It seems like we can't open a newspaper without seeing another horrific story of violence. I know we report it on our news way too often. What we can't report, because we can never know, is how many similar tragedies were averted because of the work done by DEP. We honor both the lives lost and those saved as we share an hour together here today. Now, one special way we are honoring the lives lost today is by displaying the Clothesline Project on the sides of this hall. The Clothesline Project is a national art project started as a memorial to the victims and survivors of domestic violence. Now, this project involves designing shirts to remember the women and children murdered as a result of domestic violence and child abuse. We invite you to view and reflect upon the Clothesline Project after today's luncheon. On display is a retrospective of the Clothesline Project in Minnesota since it began in 1992, and a clothesline from 20 years ago in 1995. So we really thank the Minnesota Coalition for Battered Women for lending us the Clothesline Project for this event today. And finally, we want to begin this luncheon with a few minutes of inspiration. The following poem was written by a client in DAP's women's program. It will be read by Armani Cartledge, current intern at Domestic Abuse Project and former client in the children's program. Armani?
You tried to break me with your harsh words. You tried to keep me tied down with your cords. You tried to run my life. All my dreams you cut down with a knife. The thought of me being happy made you frown. The only way you could control me was to beat me down. You tried to take away from me my self-worth, even when I tried to put my best foot forth. For years you treated me bad, even though I was all you had. You manipulated my mind, my freedom I thought I'd never find. I finally got the courage to put this to an end, and here is where my new life begins.
Thank you, Armani. We will hear more from her later as well. Our program will resume in a couple of minutes. Until then, please enjoy your lunch. Thank you.